webinar with Better Commerce and me, Jason, your host and MC for this session. It's been my privilege over the last few months to be able to MC webinars on behalf of Better Commerce as they announce and release very groundbreaking functionality for the B2B e-commerce world. Over the last few sessions, we've covered off some new functionality, including Better Connect, which allows merchants to sell to their buyers, whether they're a manufacturer or distributor, to sell to their B2B buyers wherever they happen to be. So whether those customers choose to send in an order or quote request via email or WhatsApp or Slack or Teams, we want to meet customers where they are. And on today's webinar, we're going to demo a brand new piece of functionality inside the BetterCommerce PIM system, which integrates GenAI functionality directly into the PIM. And there's a lot, PIM is everywhere today, and it would be difficult to run any B2B business at scale today without a PIM system to be able to organize and enrich your product data, structure it, add the taxonomy, add the categorization, add the structured and unstructured data attributes required to merchandise the product properly, allow your customers to identify and find the products they need for their projects or for their business, and then be able to buy those seamlessly and be able to filter down from, in some cases, categories that have thousands of products in them. But one of the things that I'm seeing in the industry and Better Commerce is also seeing in the industry is challenges around being able to take a very minimal amount of product data and then being able to expand on that, add to that, enrich that further in meaningful ways so that the buyers will be able to understand the products that they are buying better, so that as they go through their search and find experience and their product discovery experience, that it's a good one, that it's a quality one, and that they're actually buying the products that they need. So I'm going to turn this over to Sanjay in just a second here to go ahead and demo. And just for everybody watching, this is really V1. The functionality that he's going to demonstrate is never going to be worse than it is today. It's only going to get better. There's a really, really good baseline of capability here, but it's going to get better. He's going to talk through some of the additional roadmap items that are already in the works, that are already being developed, are going to be delivered over the next couple of months. But I think it's important to note that Better Commerce has built this core functionality in a matter of like 2 months. That's how fast they are at product development and getting new features and functions into the hands of their customers that transform the way they engage with their customers. So I'd like to turn it over to Sanjay Kumar, who is the head of product over at Better Commerce, and he's going to go ahead and kick off the demo. Go ahead and leave any of the questions that you may have. Please leave them in whatever streaming platform that you're watching this webinar on, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on YouTube, etc. Feel free to drop any questions throughout the demo in the comment section of the live streaming platform of your choice, and we will address those at the end of the demo. We'll leave a bit of time at the end for Q&A. So Sanjay, over to you, and I'm really looking forward to this demo.
Thank you so much, Jason, for that wonderful introduction. And it's a pleasure to share the table, staying on the other side of the table with you. And I also would like to take this opportunity to welcome all the people who have joined from the audience. So stay tuned. We are going to have something awesome. So let me share my screen, and Jason, let me know once you say it. Here we go.
Yep, I think if you zoom in just a little bit more, that'll probably be a little bit better for the visibility of the audience.
Sure.
Yeah, perfect. There we go.
All right. So we are going to demo the GenAI module right here. So what we have done basically, we have worked on three major areas because when we talk about product information management, enrichment of product data, especially when we talk about B2B, when we are talking about like 500,000 or more than 1 million product data, like content enrichment, generating images, or think about localizing the text. Every content is like it's really very difficult to think of doing all those manually or even automating those stuff. So with the help of Gen AI, what we have done, we have built a module that takes simple prompt from you, and it uses the Gen AI to generate images, content, and translation for you. So this is the settings screen where you can configure your prompt basically. So if I just have to show it to you, if I click on edit, you can see it's taking a simple text prompt. It says, okay, generate images based on, you can give the variable name. Okay, you have a product, so what all variable you want to consider within the prompt for the Gen AI to understand, okay, what kind of images I need to generate. So generate images based on name of the product, consider dimension, width, length, size, category, and brand. You can probably extend this prompt, in more detail if you want the prompt to take it more detailed input from you. Once you have given the prompt, you can configure it at the category level. Do you want to do it for entire category catalog that you have, or do you want to do it for any specific category? So in this demo, I have just selected a particular couple of categories here. Moving on, what you can do, you can select the style, like what kind of photo, what kind of image you want to generate, a comic, 3D, cartoon, a normal photo. What should be the color configuration that can be configured. The framing can be done, lighting, aspect ratio, which is very crucial, the number of images that you want to generate. In addition to these, you can also configure negative prompt, which is very important. You don't want to include animals or sometimes models, especially if we are talking about industrial product. You don't want people or animal to be in the image. So that kind of configuration can be done. Now, this particular configuration says unique images per color or size. So basically, this is, you can understand in a way like you have a particular product like chainsaw, where you have different colors of chainsaws, but there are different variants of it in terms of some technical specification, like battery power, maybe 1000 mAh, 1500 mAh. The image is not going to change at the size level or the battery level. So it will generate one image for all your variants. So let's talk about fashion. If we talk about fashion, you have a t-shirt, red t-shirt, and you have 5 sizes. You don't need 5 different images, right? One image will do the job. So that's how you do the configuration. You save it, and you can select from list of variables. We have it here. If you want to include that in the prompt, it's right here. You can simply right click and copy and paste it there. So once this configuration is
Sanjay, I want to
saved.
just interrupt you there for just 1 second. I think this is I think there's two important factors that leap out to me in terms of the UI here for the Gen AI configuration. So we have kind of some default prompts here, but you instantly have access. If we go into the prompt variable edit line there, you are able to see all of in one single panel, you're able to see all of the attributes that are loaded, or the attributes and the value types that you are able to load. So basically every single attribute variable that is available across your entire catalog in the PIM system, you have access to immediately, and you can inject that directly into the prompt. And I want to call out one specific attribute here, which is the image attribute. So let's say I've got a single image of my products, but I want AI to generate 3 or 4 additional variant images, so alternative images that basically now I can expand the visibility of my catalog with some additional enhanced imagery. Then I can pull in the image variable in there, and it will create additional images with the input not only being the other attributes that I may have. So for example, if I've got a structured data attribute and I want to generate a long description, an unstructured long description, I can do that. Or if I only have an unstructured long description and I now want to add and I want to extract out of that structured data variables, I can do that too. And then if we go down to the when you said, don't create additional images per variant. Now, in the B2B world, we oftentimes will have multiple products that look exactly the same on the exterior of the product. I'm thinking of like a pump, right? The pump housing might look exactly the same, but the amperage it can carry, the head it can carry, the inlet diameter, the outlet diameter, etc., all those attributes might be slightly different about that product, but for all intents and purposes, it looks the same to the naked eye. And so therefore, we don't want to create a new variant image for every single drop down variant configurable component of that product. We want to just have one image for that pump series, right? So this is the kind of thing I think you've really thought ahead here about some of the scenarios that B2B sellers and suppliers find themselves in when they're trying to onboard. And I'm thinking particularly of wholesale distribution. It is not uncommon in wholesale distribution to have a catalog that has 1, 2, 3, 4 million SKUs. That is not uncommon. And in that scenario, when you're trying to onboard products into your catalog from the manufacturing suppliers, oftentimes you're given a very rudimentary set of data when you are ingesting those products into your PIM initially, and that you need to be able to differentiate yourself and to be able to merchandise and market your products better than your competing distributors. You really need to have better enriched products, and the better enriched products and the better product discovery experience you provide for your customers, the more you will typically sell. So I just wanted to bring that up. There's a couple of very important points in this configuration screen.
Thank you so much, Jason, for calling that out. Yes, image acts as one of the prompt for you as an important variable. So for example, especially when you have one image with you, you use that as a variable in the prompt. The AI is going to use that as the base image, understand the culture, what and the context, what you are trying to generate, and use other sources, other variables like description, short description, and give you more images for that. So yeah, and over the past decade, talking to different prospects and clients and customers and understanding the pain areas, we understood what are the real scenarios, that real problems that we should be solving. So these three are the primary problem area that we found. It's too time taking to generate images, generate content, and especially localize the text. So the next that we are going to see in this is the configuration for product content, and this is the configuration screen is similar. You can give the configuration, like you can generate based on name, length, category, brand, color, size, whatever field you want to use, and then what all thing you want to generate. I want to generate title. I want to limit the minimum and maximum length of that particular field, description, short description, all the meta information for your SEO. Then again at a category level, and the same configuration for color or size level. Now, once all these input are there in the system, there's a job that runs in the backend that extract all the product that matches the criteria. Okay, fetch all the product from harness category and generate the content, all these fields within this range. Okay, so before I show you the data that has been generated, let's look at the third configuration that we have, the third feature, that is product translation. Here we simply turn it on. It's a simple toggle whether you want to translate or you don't want to do. So based on this feature, once you have saved it, what system does that, it will find all the qualifying product based on your category selection. And the important thing is that it updates the delta data. So for example, this particular product image has been generated and you have approved or rejected it. Next time, whenever you make any changes to those basic variables, those base variables that you have used for your prompt configuration, if there has been any change, it will regenerate, it will repick that product and regenerate the images for you. Now on this screen, what I can do, I can just go through all the product images that have been generated. I can review them. I can simply accept or reject at an individual level, or I can do it approve all and reject all. So doing this, the moment you approve or reject, once you have approved it, it's going to find that product for you. And the product that had like 1 or 2 images already, it's going to update all those images for you. So we had 2 images, now it has done 3 more. So that simple it is, done. Now it's active, it's published on the website for you to, uh, run your business. So now, for example, I had used name or maybe description as the variable in my prompt. Tomorrow, if I go ahead and change my description of the product, now the job is going to pick that product again. Okay, there has been change in the description, means there's something new for me to create image for. So that's how you can do it. Similarly, when we talk about the copy, the enrichment part, it's generating the title, short description, long description, meta information based on the configuration that you have done. And not only this, you can accept or reject. If you are not 100% satisfied by the content that has been generated, you have a choice to edit right here, make minor tweak, and simply approve or reject. And all this approved content will hit the API in the backend, the PIM API, and it will update the product data. And you can do it at bulk level. You can select all the products, multiple products at the same time, and you can update that. So that's how it's making the job of all the merchandiser and the product team very easy, right? And moving on to the third one before
Sorry,
we can.
just go back to that prior screen, Sanjay, if you don't mind. One
Yeah.
of the things that I know some merchandisers will want to be able to do is that within this individual screen here for this specific product, not only will they want to be able to do selective overrides to what the AI has generated here in terms of the textual attributes, images, not only accept or decline, but they may, on an individual product basis, they may want to tweak the prompt for this specific product. So I know that maybe you can talk a little bit about that feature that is on the way, where directly up at the top of this, you can see what has been used to generate the actual textual attributes that have been applied to this product based on images and other base attributes that you've selected in the master prompt variables. But on an individual product basis, some merchandisers may want to tweak that slightly so that it universally changes the output for every single textual field that has been pre-populated by the AI, instead of going through each one and manually changing the output slightly. They may want to just change the prompt for that product. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Yep. That makes absolute sense. And we had considered this, and that is already under development, and we'll very shortly see that feature. So, what we are going to do is that your base prompt is not going to change. It's still going to act the way you have configured, and all the result that has been generated, you can tweak the config at a particular product, a result level. Okay. So, for this particular product, this particular result, I am not convinced with the data that has been generated. So, I can tweak the it is going to copy the base prompt right here, and you can tweak the prompt and regenerate right here. So there will be a button to regenerate, and it's not going to touch the core configuration that you have. It's going to regenerate the content, and then you can accept or
Sure.
reject or
Maybe you
update
can
the
zoom
content.
in just a little bit more. We have somebody commenting here that it's a little bit hard to see. So yeah, maybe you can zoom in
Sure.
just a little bit further. That's great. Yep, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah. So you can edit and regenerate right from this tree.
Thanks, Sanjay.
Perfect. Moving on to a third one, that is translation. So again, we have enabled the toggle, the configuration for translation, and all the languages that are enabled for your website, for your domain, that they are going to be shown right here. And you can see it is generating the translated text for all the fields: short description, meta information, and title. And it's not just about literal translation that used to happen earlier. It's about a contextual translation. It keeps the cultural significance intact. So you can review this again, very similar to the previous screen. You can approve or reject, and it's going to update that data for that particular localized content field.
And what I want to call out here is that, historically, before the age of Gen AI becoming sort of ubiquitous and easily accessible, most platform vendors needed to connect to something like the Google Translate API, or they needed to connect to the Weglot API, or they maybe had a Weglot widget that would be built into the theme or something like that, and it would translate on the fly when a customer on the front end selected a different language. It would pull that in kind of a real-time scenario. But the challenge with word for word translation systems like that, oftentimes the context is lost, right? Meaning the input variables are lost. The context of the understanding of the entire product set is lost, right? And then the context of the voice that you want to have, the context of the images. Basically, it's a bit of a dumb translation service, right? It's a word for word translation instead of a contextual translation. And I think, when I think about how powerful Gen AI is now, I live in Mexico now. I'm not fluent in Spanish. I'm an intermediate Spanish speaker. And sometimes, like when I'm looking at, a recipe in Spanish, or on the back of a product, a physical product that I have in my hand, and I want to translate the entire instructions of something, I can just snap a picture of that. I can load that into Chat GPT, and I can say, can you translate this entire product panel on the back of this product, and it instantly translates it, and it actually brings in the context of whatever is being discussed there. It's contextually relevant, and it means that instead of just a straight word for word translation, which can be quite clunky, it can be hard to interpret. We're now bringing in the context of the scenario that we're actually doing the translation in, and I think that's a really important thing to bring to light.
Yeah, definitely. And that reminds me of a funny story. Back in 2017 or 18, I believe I was talking to one of my clients, and he was based out of Spain. And I was just trying to build some rapport. What I did, I just picked a text in English and relied on a translation engine. And what it did translate. And obviously, I'm not going to understand what did it do with the translation. I simply pasted that over Skype, and there was no response. Maybe after a couple of days, I just tried to debug what problem was or what was it exactly, and it kind of did something offensive. There was a couple of words that was not right to say. So yeah, that was the problem with the word to word translation. The context is lost, and that's very dangerous.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So are we going to take some questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for the demo. I know it's very early days still, but what I love about Better Commerce is the fact that we're not waiting for perfection to release some of this functionality to customers. The reality is that this is V1 or maybe
Yeah.
V.5, but you're going to add features and functions to this based on client requirements, and this gets somebody up and running very very fast. And I know maybe you can speak to one of the other functionalities that's going to come, not only individual prompts by category, which is already there, not only individual prompts by product, which is coming soon, but also instead of going from, say, image, we're basically now going from, we can take text and we can generate images, but being able to have a series of images and only a series of images, and being able to generate all of the textual information based on images only. So image to text. And I know that that's something that you're hard at work on now too.
Absolutely. So we do have next 6 months of roadmap, and we have a lot of things coming up, and you are going to see it shortly. So the very next thing that we are going to come up with is obviously having the provision to, change the configuration, change the prompt at the result level. The next that we're going to see is image to text generation. So it's something like you just provide an image as the context as a prompt, and it's going to analyze that image for you, and it's going to provide every attribute possible for that particular industry. So an image is going to give you all the custom attributes that it should have, the description, short description, all the meta information. So it's going to be SEO enriched, complete enrichment of your catalog, that product based on a single image. So that's the next thing coming up as in our next deployment.
Right, fantastic. So we've talked a little bit about some of the AI enhancements that are coming on the roadmap, which sort of answers Gaurav's question there. But we've got a couple of other questions here. We've got one from Manoj. He says, "How does BetterCommerce PIM ensure the security and privacy of product data used by the AI?" Well, I guess in the first instance, we're not exposing any product, any proprietary product data that is within your catalog. That is not being used. That's not going to be exposed to the outside world. That is only used for internal training, internal prompting, and then internal results generation. So this is not going to be shared by API with any other system. That's the first thing. I think when we're thinking, and I think there's a follow-on question here. How can you guarantee that the content will be plagiarism free and SEO friendly? Well, I think we're relying, when we think of ChatGPT and OpenAI, which is where we're leveraging large language model API endpoints for us to be able to do this work. So at the end of the day, we're consuming their service via an API with our custom prompting, with our custom catalog engine, and so therefore, at the end of the day, almost all LLMs, the proof is out there in the world, right? The result is that almost every single LLM in the wild has been trained probably on some component of copyrighted data. So there's no way for us to be able to then add an additional layer, I guess, or additional guardrails or any additional There's nothing we can do in our prompt engineering that would explicitly exclude copyrighted data that was used in any training algorithm for these large language models. So I guess the honest answer is we can't make that guarantee. But OpenAI, for example, as one of the LLMs that we tap into via API as part of our our prompt submit response scenario, it's up to them to really make sure that the training data is on non-copyrighted data. But it's a good point. I think there is concern about copyrighted data being used as base training data, and I think almost every single major LLM vendor out there is having challenges around that, because on the open internet, when you're crawling the open internet, there's a lot of copyrighted stuff out there that's openly accessible by anyone, including the training algorithms. So it is a challenge, and it's something I think the industry is going to increasingly having to grapple with. But that's not, I guess that's an area where we can't influence that. What are your thoughts, Nandan?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will also take the first question about the security that was talked about. So we do practice the industry standard best security practices. Also, in addition to this, we are compliant with GDPR and other data regulations, data protection regulations that we have. Some of the input that we provide are encrypted, so definitely there's some layer of security at our hand. And as Jason mentioned, there are other elements that are at the hand of uh, the AI service providers. So definitely yes.
Um, so there's another question here, which was, can we generate ads, like having engaging content to be generated along with the image and ad creative, basically? I think when we think about the the feeds that are given oftentimes to the major ad platforms, obviously the more data that they have access to, the better targeted the ads can be, right? I think so by definition. The reality is if you have, a one sentence, if you have one sentence of information to send to the ad engines, it's going to be pretty limited. If you send really well enriched product data, and therefore the landing pages for these PDPs, which is ultimately where this data is shown, if you have a really, really well enriched, really well targeted landing page, it's going to convert better by definition than something that has, because the truth about the B2B industry, the big bad truth is that there are very, very few manufacturers and distributors that do product content well. Very few. You've got the Grangers of the world, you've got the McMaster cars of the world, you have the Fastenals of the world that have spent tens of millions of dollars to get their product content to be the best in the world, so that the search, find, product discovery function on their website works super, super well, down to even plugins with CAD systems, etc. Right? But they've spent tens of millions of dollars to get you there. Now, is this system going to get you to a level of a Granger, on its own? No, absolutely not. But what it's going to do is it's going to get you from 0 to 1. If we look at 0 to 10 as being a Granger, or a 0 to 10 as a McMaster car, it's probably going to get you from a 0 to a 3, or a 0 to a 4, or maybe even a 0 to a 5, but it's not going to get you from a 0 to a 10. And so it can only prompt, or it can only generate based on the underlying data that it has access to begin with. So there is a minimal amount of enrichment you are going to need to have there around product. For example, product dimensions, etc. There's going to be some minimal product data you're going to need to have for every product before this system, or any AI-based system, is going to really be able to add some human-friendly enrichment that then can be used for product discovery on your website. So I think that would be my response to that question, but I'd love to hear
I
yours.
guess you have covered it all. Absolutely.
So I think when it comes to ads, I don't know if an ad module, like a specific ad module, is in the works, but I think obviously you've now got, within the PIM system, you now have more data, better quality data to generate your ads from, than just having a single sentence description, for example, of a product. And when you are doing your ad creative, obviously you want to perhaps A/B test three, four, five different product images against each other to see which ad creative is going to perform the best. Whereas if you only have a single image for your products that came, for example, from the manufacturer, whatever it might be, that that minimum level of creative may not pop off. So you will want some in situ, type of images. You'll want in use type of images that are more engaging than what maybe the stock imagery provided by the manufacturer would give you. So I think to answer that question specifically, I don't. It's, at least as far as I know, I don't think we have an ad creative generation module planned within the Better Commerce platform, but you will automatically have access to better content, better images, etc., for to use in your ad creative directly out of the PIM system.
Yeah.
Uh, there's another question here. How detailed should the text input be for text to image generation to create high quality product visuals?
Well, the more detailed input that you provide, the prompt that you give, you are going to expect better result. Definitely, if you have been using AI for past 6 months or a year, you will understand. You need to be very specific, precise, and detailed with the question that you're asking. So, this is not the era where you have to be smart with the answers. You just have to be smart with the questions. So, the person who asks better question is smarter than the person who answers the question. So, the more clarity of thought you have in the when you ask a question, when you are prompting the AI, you are going to expect a better result.
Love it. Um, Now, is anything on the roadmap? We have another question here. Can we train or customize the AI to match the brand's writing style and industry terminology? Is that something that's on the roadmap? Because, for example, I know I use a couple of different platforms with my podcast to where I can put in a URL of a YouTube video of my podcast videos, and because YouTube auto generates transcripts of every video that gets uploaded, the AI, I use a platform, for example, called Write Blogger. I can train it in terms of tone of voice. I can give it two or three different videos of my own, and then it starts to learn my tone, the kind of language that I typically use, my style. I'm a little bit irreverent, I'm a little bit cheeky, it picks up that, and then that becomes the default style when it starts to convert my videos into text. For example, for a blog article, it carries over my style and my tone when it generates the first draft of a blog article. So is that the type of thing that you're looking to bring into this, which is effectively almost like a voice or a style guide that becomes part of the base prompt engineering?
Absolutely. I think, that is the basic nature of AI. So over the time, you're going to see we are going to extend the configuration of the prompt where you can give some tone, some specific stop words that you don't want to be used. You can give your own branding. You can set the tone and style. And over the time, it learns based on the data that you are accepting and rejecting. The one that you are rejecting, the system understands you are not okay with the text. And the one you are accepting, it's taking as an input and training itself. So yes, that is going to be something that you will see in future.
Love it. Well, listen, I think we've covered most of the questions here, at least as far as I can tell. So, look, I think this was a great demo. Really appreciate your time, Sanjay. I'm looking forward to future demos. As you do these monthly cadence releases, we're going to be doing more demos, and I really appreciate your time. And I'm really excited to see where you, as the kind of the head of product here, leading the development of enhancements and features being integrated into the core platform. It's always nice to be speaking directly with the product person who is making all this stuff come to life. So I really appreciate your time, and thank you for all of our guests that joined the webinar today. We look forward to speaking to you
Thank
again
you,
soon.
Jason, I for the sentiment, and thank you everyone who had joined.